Hello people, welcome back to True Take and thanks for watching the video. In this one I want to highlight basically this video and most of my videos. It's not to encourage young men to date or men to date in general, because in my opinion I think the current climate that we're living in is more hassle than it's worth. The juice is not worth the squeeze, and I think fundamentally, unless you really want to have kids, which, like, again, in this climate, and if you look around at the world, why would you really want to even bring a kid into this? But if you do, I'm just trying to make these videos to make men more knowledgeable and try and help men not get caught out in the traps that women set, or the traps you can fall in if you're not aware of how women work and the insanity that we're actually seeing in the current times. So this video is just basically explaining that once a woman is damaged, and she's used to a chaotic life, it doesn't matter how hard you try, how much effort you put into a chaotic sort of damaged woman. In my opinion, it will never pay off. It will always end up it'll just end up in a car crash, because once a woman has been embroiled in a chaotic life, that is what they know. They don't know anything else, and realistically, you're fighting a losing battle. So let's just listen to this and you'll see what I mean.
How do we get selection right?
Um, Unfortunately, and it's sometimes things that are out of their control, but one good indicator is their upbringing. And that doesn't mean it has to be perfect, but there was an element of some stability, some level of emotional stability. Now, when it's totally chaotic, unfortunately, and I always say to men that your competition is not other men, it's her childhood. If it's totally chaotic, no matter how much stability you provide her, she'll find it very, very difficult to settle into that stable relationship. But if there was some, of course, there's ups and downs. Very few people escape childhood without some trauma. But if it was on the whole, she understood that love existed and, connection was always there, what will happen is she'll appreciate those things about you. But when it's so chaotic, unfortunately, there's so much.
Yeah, and look, the bottom line is once a woman gets used to a chaotic life, that is what becomes their norm. Like, when you treat a woman who is used to a chaotic life with, grace, dignity, care, kindness, love, you're nice to her, that to them is alien. Because realistically, let's just look at it. Most young women chase after the good looking bad boys, shall we say, right? And they tend to not bring kindness and love and peace, and they are like, a lot of women go for drug dealers and whatever, etc. So when you're dealing with a woman who's lived with the sort of rough side of life and the chaotic side of life, and you try and bring peace and tranquility and a nice stable life to her, that is not what she's conditioned to exist in, and very few will adapt. Women are emotional creatures. They need highs and lows. If you notice, a lot of women are never satisfied. Like, they've always got something to complain about, there's always an issue, and they're never content. They always want more. More money, more problems, more issues, more drama, and that is something you need to find out quick with a woman. If she is definitely along the lines of a chaotic sort of personality, and you find that she resists, coming into your world, and it's combative, then that's kind of telling you that if you're trying to bring peace and stability to her and guide her, and you're getting combativeness, arguments, crazy chaos out of nowhere, then that's your sign. You just have to look out for, is this woman open and happy in a connection where it's just between me and her, and there's no chaos, or does she always have to bring some type of chaos into our connection? That is an indicator where you're like, well, this woman is tuned into chaos, instability, and just being unstable in an unstable, chaotic life. If that's the life you want, then that's the woman for you. But any man with sense is wanting a woman who can embrace the frame that you're bringing. If you're bringing a frame that's a stable frame, and she can embrace that and appreciate that, then that's great. But in this day and age, women don't like that. They like change, new, this, high, thrills, lows. And this video kind of just goes on to explain more.
Work to undo, and if she hasn't started it, you can't finish it. So I recommend that looking for somebody with some level of emotional regulation is really important. But the other thing about selection is recognizing what you consider a deal breaker. If I consider sexual promiscuity a deal breaker, and I'm with a partner who's really addicted to pornography, really wants to experiment, so on and so forth, there's no amount of love I can give them that will change their core needs and desires.
Yep, so what she's saying is, you need to set standards, like I've said in previous videos, as a man, to save yourself from financial ruin, mental ruin, heartache, heartbreak, and your life getting turned upside down and destroyed. You need to set standards to filter women out. Don't just say, oh, she's pretty and she can be nice for 5 minutes of the day, and that'll be enough for me. And the rest of the time she's a nightmare, but she's pretty, and she's pretty, and this is the kind of trap men fall into. Women are nice to begin with, and they set them in a trap to where the man kind of gets hooked, and then that's when they start to unravel their real selves and show you the demons that they are. So you need to be on the ball. So like, say for instance, when I was in my 20s, a chick could have red flags popping out everywhere, and I didn't care. As long as I was getting her in bed and I had a woman's company, I was happy. That's how bad it is when you're young, dumb, and full of you-know-what. And you're just realistically looking for one thing with a one-track mind, is to spread your seed and, get women. Sadly, that was the forefront of a lot of my younger days. And the same with a lot of young men. But once you get experience, like I've went through a lot of women, been with a lot of women, had relationships, slept about, whatever, all the nonsense, you get to a point where you realise women ain't as special as you think they are. And they're more trouble than they're worth a lot of the time. And once you get past the lust and the desire, you see things more clearly. And that's when you're like, right, for my own good, as soon as you can, you need to set standards, and whatever your standards may be. Like, do you want her to be compliant, peaceful, friendly, non-argumentative? Just simple things that you need to start building standards and self-respect as a man, and that will definitely help you not just fall for any woman. Because some men can be under the mindset that all women are just nice and sweet and friendly and full of roses and daisies, and they just skip around being oh so sweet and they're so fragile. Well, the appearance is deceiving, but when you hear a lot of women and you see how a lot of women act in the modern times, they're masculine, they're venomous, they're hateful, they're evil, and sometimes it's like they're possessed by a demon. And if you can't see that and you're just thinking, I just want to sleep with her because she's hot, you are setting yourself up for a life of utter misery and destruction. So this is why it's important, like she's saying, you need to get deal breakers and standards. If you don't, believe me, I've made some mistakes in my past, and I have experienced some chaotic women and who will drive you to the brink of insanity just because they can and because that is how they are. So you have to have standards to have any chance of finding a decent woman.
is. And I shouldn't expect that. I shouldn't expect him to contort himself to fit my needs. So you look at what your deal breakers are. Now, if she or he is displaying them, don't be narcissistic enough to think that your love is enough to undo it. Unfortunately, they're allowed to be the person they want to be. You're allowed to be the person you want to be. But almost watching all the red flags and going for it anyway is masochism. You're going to end up, micromanaging. You're going to end up like holding them by the throat, getting them to behave, when really they should be allowed to be the person that they showed you they were from the beginning. So selecting according to your own deal breakers is really important.
If somebody had a bad childhood, are they just damaged goods?
No, they're definitely not damaged goods. But one thing I would say is we underestimate the impact, particularly about the person that comes from a damaged childhood.
See, I would definitely disagree with her. I think she's trying to be a bit politically correct here, but I think once you have a damaged childhood, it's hard to undo it. And then not only that, so you go back in the olden days, you got women who were crazy or unstable through their childhood. That's one thing. But add into the fact the modern times that we're living in and the just complete and utter filth that's told to women that's acceptable. You can sleep around, you can be independent, you can do what you want. Feminism means that women can do what men do, and if men can sleep around, women can sleep around, and they're always trying to match men and in essence outdo men. So when you're getting brought up in a world like that, that is so far from traditional norms and traditional women. So you're not only dealing with a woman who can get brought up in a chaotic, bad childhood, but then she's getting brought up in a world of just complete treachery and, satanic opposite of, traditional. It's a satanic world we're living in. Everything is being pushed, in my opinion. OnlyFans, women naked everywhere, LGBTQ insanity where you can chop your wiener off and become a woman, and children are being told you can take chemicals, and all you can go on and on and on. We're living in the most, I think, insane times to be bringing children up, because I think there's a lot of confused children right now, and so that's what makes it even harder. So you're combating their upbringing and also the world that we're living in and the things that they're being taught, especially through feminism as well, that is the opposite of traditional norms. So your chances of actually finding a good, honest, damaged woman, or uninfluenced woman who's not brainwashed that she can do what she wants when she wants, and the lack of a lot of morals. And I think the biggest problem with women in general is the lack of morals and self-respect, in the way that they are never held accountable and they'll never take accountability. Women get away with so much more than men do, and even when they get caught, they do not get held accountable. Let's just say, for an example, I think one of the biggest problems in the world today is where a woman can accuse a man of a false, SA or a grape accusation, and she can take him to court, upheave his life, tarnish his name, and it comes out a lot of the time that the woman's made it up, or she's been lying, or for whatever reason she's made it up and just completely try to destroy the guy's life. And even when they find out that the woman's been lying, nothing happens to the woman. So this is what I'm saying. We're living in a time where women are literally allowed to do what they want without any responsibility or any repercussions. And that is when women are just for simple terms, women are creatures or beings who need guidelines. They need structure to keep them functioning optimally in their femininity. And when you're putting a system upon them where they're allowed to do whatever they want with no accountability, that is when, I think, in my opinion, you see the worst in women. And that's the times that we're living in right now. Women are literally, there's no shame, there's no accountability, there's nothing. So we're just seeing loose cannon women just creating chaos in the world. They're bringing more chaos than peace. Let's put it that way. That's my opinion.
They seem to think that it's fine, it's not, but if they recognize that they have areas to work on and they have abandonment wounds, they are easy to be with. But if there's somebody who's in denial about that and genuinely believe that you're the cause of their emotional pain, unfortunately, no matter what you do, that emotional pain, that wound that predates you is always going to be inflamed, and they're always going to blame and expect you to soothe them. So it's always good to be with somebody who, even if they've got a damaged childhood, recognizes that damage, that then you're onto a healthy relationship.
Yeah, so like I said, you can't, like she's saying, if you are dealing with somebody, you're dating a woman, or you're having some kind of emotional entanglement with a woman, and you're thinking, should I take this further? You have to look, does this woman meet my requirements to bring me peace and the life I want to build, or am I just with her because she's got a set of boobies and a box, and I'm attracted to her body and I just like to sleep with her? If you're with a woman for that reason, that's not a reason to stay with a woman. That's the first and the fast track way to ruining your life. If she's got loads of red flags and you're just avoiding them, so you will never be able to. And even when you see the red flags, don't waste your time and try to change somebody. Do not try and think, like she said, oh, I can change them. Biggest mistake ever in relationships. Maybe on an anecdotal level it can happen 1% of the time, 2% of the time, but the vast majority of the time, if somebody's damaged and they're showing you red flags, that's more than likely enough for you to leave and say, right, let me just dodge that bullet. So I just wanted to bring that video, and fundamentally my videos are just to inform young men on to try and look past lust. Don't fall in the trap of lust and then think you can change a woman. You have to see things for what they are. If you see a tiger and it looks cute, and you walk up to the pen and you walk in and it starts attacking you, and you're like, oh, but it looked cute when I first seen it, does that make any sense for you to just stay there and stand there if you've got the option to escape? It's like you have to see things for what they are presenting to you, not how you feel or how you think or what you want them to be. It's what you're seeing, and that's what red flags are. You need to assess fundamentally, is this right or is this wrong? Do I want this in my life? Do I want a woman to act this way, or do I not want a woman to act this way? And fundamentally, if you stick to that basis, is this right? Do I agree with this, and do I want this from a woman? That gives you your answer, and you have to sort of fundamentally override any lust or natural kind of instincts to sleep with women and keep them around. You need to override the lust with logic and say, is this woman, does she tick the boxes that I need her to tick for my standards? And everybody's standards are different, but you get your standards and your self-respect and you keep it, and that's how you filter women out. And you might be single for a long time, because I can tell you, from back in the day when I just would sleep around and go with any woman for the sake of it, yeah, I had loads of women and it was quite good. But as I got older and I started to vet and filter and have more self-preservation and realising that not every woman's the same and you need to filter them out, I've had periods where I'm single for a long time. But I would rather that than just go with any woman for the sake of being with a woman and, potentially ruining your life. Because when I look back on most of my relationships, they never brung nothing but chaos to my life. And the only thing I was getting out of it was satisfying my lust and my sexual desires. But there was nothing else of benefit from me putting up with all the chaos, because all it was doing was just bringing me down and putting me in a bad place, and in effect, like I said, bringing chaos rather than peace. So you want to get standards where you can filter women out and so you can filter the chaotic women out, the red flag ridden women, the ones that are for the streets, and you want to get standards where you can find a woman that's going to bring you peace, and only accept that, because that's the only way you're going to find peace and a path to prosperity and a happy life with a woman and a partner. It's not guaranteed, but if you've got at least some standards, it's a sort of a firewall, a protection for just being open to the elements and having a free-for-all with anybody and saying, oh, she's hot, that's cool, that'll do me, you know. So I hope you get my point. I know sometimes I might repeat myself, but I just want to make sure that I'm drumming home the point that you have to have self-respect and standards, period. That's non-negotiable. So until the next time, peace.